So for you to say everybody's on the same page was a complete lie. Now, insert, here's Adam Silver. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said Tuesday night he is tracking WNBA collective bargaining sessions very closely. I speak for Mark as well. We have been involved with this league for 3 decades. I talked to the people who are at the negotiating.
Adam Silver didn't quietly step into the WNBA labor talks. He redefined the battlefield the moment he spoke. This was never a calm middle ground gesture. It was a calculated show of authority that instantly shifts momentum and cranks the pressure squarely onto the players. The NBA commissioner made one thing crystal clear: the season cannot stop, and an agreement must be finalized. That message perfectly echoes what Caitlin Clark hinted at weeks earlier when she subtly separated herself from the Players Association's hardline stance. Now, the most influential figure in all of professional basketball is reinforcing that exact viewpoint, and with his weight behind it, the entire dynamic of these negotiations just fundamentally changed.
Now, insert, here's Adam Silver, in that he and Deputy Commissioner Mark Tatum would both be willing to join the prolonged negotiations to finalize.
As all of this drama unfolds, the league's founders are scrambling to protect their off-season plans and keep momentum alive. Adam Silver's intervention lands even harder in this context. He isn't just offering advice, he's drawing a line. Progress demands compromise and a willingness from both sides to meet halfway. Meanwhile, discussions continually return to player salaries, highlighting the undeniable fact that WNBA athletes remain drastically underpaid despite the league's rapid growth. Yet one critical issue is being overlooked: the Players Association's push for a 50-50 revenue split. Silver keeps the spotlight on flat dollar raises instead of percentage-based revenue sharing, directly challenging the union's core demands. Timing only intensifies the pressure. Speaking during the NBA Cup Finals in Las Vegas on December 17th, Silver set the clock ticking. With the current CBA extension expiring January 9th, just under 3 weeks remain to close a massive gap. Players are seeking 30% of league revenue, the WNBA is offering 15%, and Silver is pushing for a compromise, while firmly rejecting the players' preferred revenue calculation method.
Also said he has great relationships with many of the players and believes the sides are on course for a solution. The current 40-day extension ends January 9th, and that date is fastly approaching. Okay, he says, I remain optimistic we'll get something done, but whether that means I'm physically sitting at the table for the negotiation, Silver said. And again, I speak for Mark as well. We have been involved with this league for 3 decades. In essence, I care enormously about it and want it to be successful, and I want the players to feel fairly treated as well. And I realize there's been a disconnect, especially over the last.
Pay close attention to Breanna Stewart's reaction. She makes it clear that the current strategy isn't yielding any results. Simply put, the Players Association's hardline approach hasn't moved the needle. After opting out of the CBA back in October, they had expected the league to cave on revenue sharing. Instead, they endured 2 CBA extensions, watched the league advance its expansion plans without them, and now must confront the possibility of the NBA commissioner himself entering the negotiation room. Stewart welcomes Adam Silver's involvement, but the way she frames her comments reveals just how dramatically the balance of power has shifted. Her message emphasizes making sure everyone grasps the players' demands and sentiments, but it's a statement coming from a place of caution rather than control, not from a position of authority. It comes across more like a plea for outside pressure, with the hope that Silver will push team owners to give in. But the reality is, Silver's stance is already set in stone. He isn't there to enforce a 50-50 revenue split, nor is he planning to restructure the league's finances. His objective is far simpler and far more ruthless. He wants an agreement that keeps the games playing and the business moving forward. That requires compromise, not a victory for just one side. For players who built their entire approach around uncompromising demands, this is a complete game changer. Stewart even admits that multiple outcomes are possible, and that both sides can still feel like they've achieved something. Yet in this new landscape, the rules have clearly shifted, and the Players Association must adapt quickly or risk losing leverage entirely.
And now let's get to the actual video so we can get more dialogue of what Breanna Stewart had to say. They trying to hardball. The owners aren't going to give in to all this nonsense. They're trying to hardball, these players are. And At the end of the day, Adam Silver is with Caitlin Clark. Y'all need to compromise and get this damn deal done and stop playing games.
Hey, Stewie. Good to see you. I had two questions. The first, Adam Silver spoke ahead of the Cup and said that if necessary, he'd be up for coming to the bargaining table, him and Mark Tatum. I'm just wondering, do you think that would be beneficial? Would there be value to having Adam's presence at the bargaining table?
But she quickly emphasizes that progress must start with something mutual, and that choice of words is telling. For months, the union treated revenue sharing as an absolute, non-negotiable demand rather than a starting point for discussion. Publicly, they framed it as a moral imperative, leaning heavily on messages of fairness and equity, while rejecting any conversation about percentage-based revenue splits and pushing back against the league's focus on flat salary increases. That hardline stance drew a firm line in the sand. Now, with compromise officially on the table, that line suddenly appears far more flexible. When a key leader in the movement acknowledges that both sides must yield, it signals a major realignment. Pragmatic? Yes, but also a clear retreat from the rigid position the union had presented to fans and players. This shift creates internal friction, particularly among those closely aligned with the original strategy, and complicates matters for top stars like Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, who have worked tirelessly to expand opportunities and bargaining power for players. As negotiations drag on, critical questions emerge about who truly gains from the delay, because not every player has the same financial cushion, and not everyone can withstand a prolonged standoff. As the weeks pass, the disconnect between leadership rhetoric and the realities faced by players grows increasingly obvious. What once appeared as a united front now threatens to reveal cracks within the player base itself. With Adam Silver prioritizing resolution over revenue redistribution, the burden no longer rests solely on ownership. It now extends squarely onto the Players Association to align public statements with what they're genuinely prepared to accept at the negotiating table. The tension becomes even more apparent when Stewart is questioned about Project B, the new 3-on-3 league running from fall through April. That schedule directly overlaps with Unrivaled's winter window, and her response unintentionally exposes deeper divisions and strategic challenges within the players' camp, highlighting just how complicated the negotiations and internal dynamics have become.
The season is going to run from fall to April, which is in direct competition with Unrivaled. What were your immediate thoughts when you heard about Project B? And what's the long-term answer for the landscape of women's basketball? Is it to have one premier league? Is it to continue developing all of these leagues? What is truly the answer? What is the ideal world for the women's basketball landscape?
Yeah, I think my immediate thoughts when I saw Project B, I was kind of like, well, they saw what worked. They saw the success that we had here at Unrivaled, and they wanted to be a part of that in their own way and try to do it. But at the same time, knowing,
She points out that Project B studied Unrivaled successes and aimed to create its own version while carving out space in that model. But she quickly shifts focus to why Unrivaled remains distinct, emphasizing player equity, access to resources, and keeping athletes centralized. What's more revealing, however, isn't what she highlights. It's what she leaves unsaid. She doesn't acknowledge that Project B's schedule actually fits more smoothly with the WNBA calendar, nor does she mention that players wishing to play overseas while completing a full WNBA season now have a viable option. Instead, Project B is framed as a mere imitator, while Unrivaled is promoted as the superior model. That framing is far from neutral, it reads like marketing. This response exposes a tension that has influenced these negotiations from the beginning. Stewart later stresses that if the WNBA season isn't properly aligned with other schedules, nothing functions efficiently. She insists consensus is needed, but immediately admits the league hasn't reached that point, making it clear her main focus remains on Unrivaled. This contradiction is critical. The Players Association is meant to represent all WNBA players, spanning different financial situations, career stages, and off-season goals. Yet, some key figures are leading a league that directly benefits from a condensed WNBA season and protected winter months. Those personal incentives don't fully align with the broader player base, where a longer WNBA season and flexible off-season options could be far more valuable. When leadership priorities favor personal ventures, it undermines the union's credibility at the bargaining table, a concern Caitlin Clark flagged weeks ago. As negotiations continue, the line between genuine advocacy and self-interest is becoming impossible to ignore. What initially appeared as unified leadership now raises serious questions about whose priorities are truly being served. Stewart summed it up plainly. "What we're doing right now isn't really moving us forward. So if Adam and Mark need to come to the table, we're more than happy to have that. Making sure everyone understands what we want and how we feel, both sides can walk away satisfied. But there has to be some mutual ground first." Her words underline a crucial point. Players must compromise because the season must continue. The subtext is clear. Some players appear more focused on protecting personal off-season ventures than supporting the league that pays them. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert claimed the roster was unified, but that assertion doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Public endorsements from players like DJ Kelly in support of Caitlin Clark reveal real fractures within the player base. That internal division is a major reason negotiations have stalled, and why Adam Silver is stepping in personally. Silver, along with Deputy Commissioner Mark Tatum, made it clear they are willing to participate directly in the talks. Tatum rarely involves himself in routine bargaining, so his presence signals that the NBA views this as a serious business risk. Overseeing league operations and international growth, his engagement typically indicates high-stakes deals, with the league acting decisively to safeguard its long-term investments. Right now, the WNBA is navigating one of the most pivotal moments in its history. The league is in the midst of historic expansion, with Golden State joining next season and Toronto and Portland set to follow in 2026. Momentum has never been higher, and on top of that, upcoming media rights deals are projected to bring in $2.2 billion over 11 years starting in 2025. Any work stoppage at this stage would be extremely damaging, and a prolonged standoff could prove catastrophic. At the same time, the league cannot cede unchecked control over revenue to the players. A 50-50 split would create exactly that risk for a league still operating at a loss. Silver and Tatum are navigating a delicate balance. Growth requires stability, and stability demands compromise. The key question is whether the Players Association is ready to face that reality or continue pushing demands the league has already rejected. Silver isn't entering talks to debate theoretical ideas. He is there to secure a solution. The goal is not endless negotiation. It is a compromise that keeps the league thriving in games on the court. That compromise is expected to include significant salary increases, improved travel standards, expanded player benefits, and possibly revenue sharing tied to profitability benchmarks, rather than total revenue. What will not be part of the deal is the Players Association's insistence on claiming 30% of league revenue regardless of the league's financial realities. This distinction is especially important in understanding Caitlin Clark's position. She distanced herself from union messaging because she comprehends the numbers and recognizes how fragile the league's growth remains. While the WNBA is expanding and visibility is booming, it is not yet financially secure, making measured strategic compromise essential. Momentum in the WNBA depends on consistent seasons, full schedules, and maintaining a positive public image. Any disruption, shortened seasons, labor disputes, or public conflict threatens that hard-won progress. Caitlin Clark's impact this season highlights where the real leverage lies. Games featuring her averaged roughly 1.2 million viewers, compared to around 400,000 for games without her. Advocating for compromise in this context isn't selfish. It's rooted in reality. Sustainable growth depends on stability, not brinkmanship. Adam Silver's messaging underscores this point. Players deserve higher pay as revenues increase, but that growth must be carefully managed. The WNBA currently generates about $200 million annually. A 30% split would equal $60 million for 144 players, roughly $417,000 each, before accounting for operating costs, team expenses, expansion, and facilities. Once those factors are factored in, the numbers simply don't work. Even a 15% allocation strains the current structure. Silver understands this from experience. The NBA faced similar hurdles and only adopted a 50-50 revenue split after achieving financial stability and significant profitability. The WNBA, now in its 28th season, is just beginning to establish true viability. Demanding NBA-level revenue splits at this stage is a mismatch between aspiration and reality. The Players Association further complicated negotiations by framing the discussion as a moral issue rather than a business matter, reducing flexibility and making compromise politically challenging. That context helps explain why Commissioner Engelbert insisted all players were unified, even as cracks had already begun to appear within the roster. Once unity began to fracture, first by Caitlin Clark, then by others prioritizing a smooth season, the players' leverage weakened significantly. Now, Adam Silver is in a position to push both sides to face economic reality. That reality has two sides. WNBA players absolutely deserve higher pay, but the league cannot support revenue-based compensation that ignores profitability. Both statements are true, and compromise means acknowledging both realities. Over the next 3 weeks, the Players Association faces a shrinking set of options. Either accept a deal that delivers substantial salary increases, better benefits, and structural improvements without full revenue sharing, or allow Silver and Tatum to impose a framework that no one fully loves but that both sides can survive. That is the essence of compromise. Not everyone getting everything they want, but enough to keep the league moving forward. Breanna Stewart's focus on Unrivaled explains much of the current gridlock. Some of the most influential players in these negotiations are heavily invested in an off-season league that benefits from a shorter, less flexible WNBA calendar. Ahead of the NBA Cup final in Las Vegas, Silver said, "I've spoken with the people at the negotiating table daily. We collectively acknowledge that players deserve significantly higher pay, given the league's success. Now it's about finding a fair meeting of the minds." Meanwhile, players most invested in the WNBA's long-term growth, like Caitlin Clark, are advocating for stability and continuity. Silver is aligning with that approach because he understands the stakes. This isn't about moral victories. It's about reading the moment and securing the league's future. For the first time in its history, the WNBA is riding real momentum, driven largely by Caitlin Clark's ability to draw in casual fans who previously ignored the league. These viewers aren't analyzing collective bargaining agreements or debating revenue splits. They're tuning in to watch games because Clark is on the court. Any disruption that delays or shortens the season risks losing this audience entirely. And that's where true leverage lies. That's exactly why Adam Silver is stepping in now. A labor dispute spilling into the season would erase years of progress and revive narratives the league cannot afford to revisit. The WNBA cannot absorb that regression, and neither can the players, even if some haven't fully recognized it yet. With January 9th approaching, the window for voluntary compromise is closing. A deal will happen one way or another. The question is whether the Players Association secures a workable agreement on its own terms or forces the league to impose one. Recent signals suggest many players are realizing the leverage they assumed they had is not as strong as they thought. The choice now is simple. Take the available win or gamble for an outcome the league has already rejected. There's no room left for posturing. The masks are off, timelines are tight, and the power dynamics are clear. Adam Silver isn't entering to debate options. He's entering to finalize this. The league has momentum it's never had before and won't allow internal conflicts or competing priorities to stall it. Caitlin Clark recognized this long before most were willing to admit. Growth only matters if it's protected. Exposure only matters if games are played. The WNBA now has casual fans watching, networks invested, expansion locked in, and money flowing. That window is rare, and it closes fast if mishandled. This negotiation was never just about percentages or principles. It's about timing, leverage, and reality. The league has made one thing crystal clear. Pay will rise, conditions will improve, and real investments in players are coming. What won't happen is handing over control before the business can sustain it. That boundary is non-negotiable. Now the Players Association faces a pivotal decision. Accept a deal that improves lives and secures the season, or push forward and risk the league imposing terms. Either way, an outcome is inevitable. The only difference is who controls the narrative when it lands. One fact is undeniable. The era of pretending everyone shares the same priorities is over. Conflicts of interest are out in the open, leadership priorities are exposed, and protecting the league's product comes first. When the deal is finally announced, headlines will grab attention. But the real story happens behind the scenes. Who pushed, who compromised, who read the moment correctly, and who miscalculated. Those details reveal the real winners and losers, far beyond polished press releases or league-approved talking points. For every angle, every leak, every backstage twist the mainstream won't show you, Courtside Leaks has you covered. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments, and share the videos. Stay locked in with Courtside Leaks, your ultimate source for the truth behind every WNBA headline.